Paul Revere Williams, black architect, born 1894, died 1980. Architect Paul Revere Williams designed some 2,000 structures throughout California, as well as the rest of the nation and the world. Many of these were private homes, and he is most remembered for the houses which earned him the nickname Architect to the Stars. At a time when African American actors were relegated to stereotypical roles, Williams acquired a client list of celebrities that would eventually include Frank Sinatra, Lucille Ball, Bill Bojangles Robinson, and Anthony Quinn. He also designed numerous commercial, nonprofit, and government structures, including parts of the Los Angeles International Airport, the Pearl Harbor Memorial in Hawaii, Saks Fifth Avenue in Beverly Hills, the MCA building, and in addition to the famous Beverly Hills Hotel. Paul Revere Williams was born in Los Angeles, California, the son of Chester and Lila Wright Williams. His parents died when he was 4 years old, however, and Williams spent his childhood in a series of orphanages. This experience exposed him to children of various racial and ethnic backgrounds, and no doubt contributed to the characteristics of adaptability and lack of self consciousness that he would display throughout his life. Because of the ethnic variety in his environment, he was hardly aware of the fact that he was, quote, different as a black child, he later recalled. As a student at Sentis Avenue Grammar School, his drawings attracted the attention of a local builder, whose praise for his work inspired in him the dream of becoming an architect. Because he did not, quote, know that an African American in early 20th century America should not aspire to such a dignified profession, he continued to dream and to draw. But in 1912, when he was in high school, a teacher asked him a discouraging question, quote, "Who ever heard of a Negro being an architect?" Unquote. It was at that point that he confronted the issue of race and the barriers it might pose to his career. Williams resolved to succeed as an individual rather than a member of a group, and to let adversity become an inspiration rather than a discouragement. Quote, without having the wish to show them, he later said, I developed a fierce desire to show myself. I wanted to vindicate every ability I had. I wanted to acquire new abilities. I wanted to prove that I, as an individual, deserved a place in the world. With such powerful aspirations, there was no room for self-doubt or pity, or self-pity, self-doubt or self-pity. If I allow the fact that I am a Negro to checkmate my will to do now, he wrote in another occasion, I will inevitably form the habit of being defeated. Unquote. After high school, Williams enrolled in the Los Angeles School of Arts, where he won the prestigious Beaux Arts Medal from the Beaux Arts Institute of Design in New York City. At the age of 20, in 1914, he won a design prize for the Pasadena, California Civic Center in a contest that put him up against architects from all over the country. And that was before he had even graduated from architecture school. But when he did in 1919, he again faced the reality that very few white architects would hire him. One by one, he went through the architects in the Los Angeles phone book until he found one who would take him on as a draftsman. Eventually, he became chief draftsman at the firm, and the Society of Architects in Los Angeles invited him to join their organization. By 1922, he was ready to open his own office. As the head of his own firm, Williams yet again had to confront the likelihood that many of his prospective clients would see his skin color rather than his work. In order to counteract this, he developed a unique strategy involving techniques he labeled attention getters. A white prospect might come to his office and, suddenly realizing that Williams was black, say something to the effect that he was just shopping around, meaning that he would leave and never come back. Williams, already a dapper gentleman with a graceful manner, would engage the prospect in conversation, Once he had ascertained the amount of money the client intended to invest in the project, he would name a figure higher than that and say that he never designed buildings that cost any less. But he would add, "Perhaps I might be able to offer some suggestions about the design." Often this led to a lengthy conversation of the project, and Williams would end up with a client. Another attention getter was his ability to draw upside down with a prospective client sitting across the desk from him. Williams would begin sketching out a plan which was right side up from the perspective of the viewer. In both his attitudes and his talents, Williams was proving himself to be unique, and soon his efforts would meet with success. Despite the bluffing tactic he used with reluctant white prospects in his early days as an architect, Williams took any project he could find, no matter how small. From working with limited budgets, the man who would later design multi-million-dollar homes and public buildings learned how to figure costs precisely. Gradually, he began to acquire a reputation for good work and took on more substantial commissions, such as one from a senator to whom Williams had delivered papers as a boy. In 1931, automobile manufacturer E.L. Cord came to him with a request that Williams present him with a design for a house costing $100,000. At a time when $5,000 would build a comfortable middle class home, this represented a tremendous architect's commission, and Williams was not about to miss this opportunity. Cord was choosing between several architects, and he asked Williams how soon he could present a design. When Williams said he would have it ready by 4 o'clock the next afternoon, Cord was incredulous. The other architects had requested a minimum of 2 weeks' time, but Williams made good on his promise, working for 22 hours straight, and Cord gave him the job. This experience was a turning point for Williams. During the next decades, he would earn the title Architect to the Stars for the many celebrities' homes he designed. His client list began to grow as he took on Hollywood figures, many of this famous from the early days of film. Silent film star Corinne Griffith, singer and actress Grace Moore, starlet Zasu Pitts, whose style of fluttering her hands and speaking in a nervous, high-pitched voice inspired the character Olive Oyl in the Popeye cartoons, and the film censor Will Hayes. Bill Bojangles Robinson, famous for his roles opposite Shirley Temple, was a rare African American film star of the era, and he too became a client. In fact, as Robert Arthur King, who would later point out in Quarterly Black Review of Books, quote, "In a time when African American actors in Hollywood were relegated to the predominantly restrictive roles of servants, dim-witted comedians, musicians, and dancers, Williams enjoyed celebrity status as one of the most sought-after architects." Unquote. This was ironic, so, too, was the fact that Williams designed a home for Charles Cottrell, who played Andy on Amos and Andy, a radio show often criticized for its racist overtones. In his personal life, Williams still had to confront the prejudice he was overcoming in his career. Only in 1951, long after he could afford to do so financially, he was able to build a home in one of the prestigious LA neighborhoods where so many of his houses were located. Eventually, Williams's client list would read like a who's who in Hollywood. He designed homes for Frank Sinatra, Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz, Zsa Zsa Gabor, Anthony Quinn, Lon Chaney, and Tyrone Power. Gaber Pillar Velades later wrote in Town and Country, quote, "got closets the size of a master bedroom," unquote. As for Sinatra's house, it was as veritable push-button heaven. It was a veritable push-button heaven. The beauty of Williams' comfortable designs Velades pointed out, passed easily from generation to generation. Hence, at the time of her 1994 article, actors Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith lived in the home Williams had designed for Bert Lahr, the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz. Williams's style has often been described as gracious, in accordance with his principle that good architecture should reduce human tension by creating a restful environment and changing social patterns. He did not create homes only for the wealthy, however, and he addressed his two books, The Small Home of Tomorrow, 1945, and New Homes for Today in 1946, to the needs of middle class families. Williams designed the nation's first public housing project in 1936 at a time when such facilities were viewed with optimism as a means of providing better housing for the poor. Williams's many public designs include parts of the Los Angeles International Airport, as well as the Los Angeles County Courthouse, the Hollywood and 28th Street YMCA's in Los Angeles, the Pearl Harbor Memorial in Hawaii, St. Judge Hospital in Tennessee, the buildings for Howard University in Washington, D.C. Among his well-known commercial designs in the Los Angeles area are the Beverly Hills Saks Fifth Avenue store, in addition to the Beverly Hills Hotel, the MCA building, and the Al Jolson Memorial Shrine. His international projects were buildings in Colombia, Ecuador, and Liberia. In the course of his career, Williams earned a number of awards, including the Omega Phi Psi Man of the Year Award in 1951, the NAACP Spingarn Medal in 1953, and honorary doctorates from Howard University, Lincoln University, and the Tuskegee Institute. Williams was one of the first blacks to become a member of the American Institute of Architects, which in 1957 elected him to its College of Fellows, making him the first African American to be accorded this, the AIA's highest honor. Williams and his wife Della had two children. He died in 1980, leaving a vast and quite literally concrete legacy in the form of 2,000 homes and public structures throughout California and elsewhere. It was ironic then that one of the first buildings to burn during the 1992 Los Angeles riots was his Broadway Federal Savings and Loan, which contained much of his archives. His granddaughter Karen Hudson, who in coming years would publish two books about Williams, including one, The Will and the Way for Children, said of the rioters, "If those young people knew that a black person had designed that building, would they have burned it down?" But as the riots subsided, another structure in South Central LA became a symbol of calm, the first African Methodist Episcopal Church. It too had been designed by Williams. Citations are in the description.